time now virtually to catch up with our guests of the morning. And but before I do, this one from Laura.
In conjunction with Penzance Business Improvement District, police have reintroduced the shop watch scheme to the town. So far, there are 31 radios in stores, restaurants and pubs across Penzance, covering from Sainsbury's in the east to Co-op at Werrytown in the west. Staff can use them to share information amongst themselves, should any of them have a theft, or simply to warn other users that a prolific shoplifter may be about. The neighbourhood policing team also have 2 radios to monitor and alert officers should they be required to deal with shoplifters. Police hope to link the radios to the town's CCTV in the future.
And with that news there from Laura, I have to welcome my first guest this morning. Good morning to Jessica.
Good morning,
Jessica
Dave.
from BID. Yeah, we just had that little piece there from Laura about the watch system that we've got going up, a shop watch, etc. at the moment. How well is that one going?
Yeah, no, it's been really well taken up. We've been sort of I've been going around with Simon Mortimer in the town, who's one of our PCSOs since about Christmas time. So we had a new digital receiver put into the town and tested just before Christmas, and then we've been rolling it out ever since. On the radio, on the news, then it said 31, but we actually had 3 more shops sign up last week, right. So it is still rolling. And I've had another inquiry this morning, so it's been really, really popular, and a lot of the businesses have found it very useful because it's not, as they say, they can talk to one another within it. The PCSOs or the police actually have it on their beat team as well. They carry it with them, so there's a direct link through to the police from that point of view, and it's helping shops to tackle some of the more prolific shoplifters in the town, because prior to that we had a system called StoreNet in the town for a long time. But when the telecommunication link moved from Hale to Tolvaden, that link was broken with the police, so that system wasn't working quite so well as this new system does, and so there's been some really good take up, and we're currently rolling it out to Pub Watch as well, which means that the pubs will be able to have it in the evening, so it'll help with the nighttime economy as well.
That'll be really good.
Yeah, and we're giving 2 of the radios to the street pastors so that they can then link in with the pubs as well for when the pubs kind of close up and people hit the streets, really.
Yeah, so a little bit of safety for everyone there. You've had some good news with regard to some of the businesses you've got on your wing in the bid there. I believe it was Polgoon and the Turk's Head. They've won awards. They've both just recently. We found out last week. Jonathan Gibbard of the Turk's Head gave us a ring, and I had a look on the results, and for Taste of the West, so Turk's Head has won gold in, I think it's the pub restaurants category, and Polgoon has won a couple of awards, 1 gold and 1 silver, I believe, for their wine, or for their rosé and also their wine. So brilliant that we've got some people in the area. I mean, Polgoon are actually one of our voluntary bid members, so they voluntarily become one of the bid members. Right. So it's lovely that we can offer them our congratulations. Most definitely. Now, let's see. Social media is a great thing. It's also a bad thing. It can be a bad thing. But in the past, there's been some negative press about Penzance, etc. But that's all changing, right? Or it seems to be all changing. There's some great news. You know, the Jubilee Pool is coming along now. Really well.
Absolutely. I mean, Jubilee Pool. There's obviously the share, the crowdfunding share scheme that they've got at the moment to try and get £350,000 worth of match funding for some European funding that they've got to develop all year round facilities down there, and to allow it to be much more of a spa type facility, which I think for the whole of Penzance could be a really fantastic thing. If you look at a lot of the other coastal areas which have a spa style facility, then they are becoming all year round destinations, and whilst we are definitely a market town, any extra visitors that we can get to the town is always going to provide a bonus. And I think Penzance went through a little stage where we were looking at everything that we hated about ourselves, and actually we've come out of that now, and I'm sure everybody who lives in the area has noticed that, particularly since Maisie Day, there's been a much more upbeat and positive face of Penzance out. We've done the hanging baskets in the town, which I personally think look beautiful, and there's also some new signage as well, which has tied in and has had some very good feedback. And I think the people who really care about Penzance and who are really love Penzance are being much more vocal about that as well. So there is both sides of the coin coming through again, which is great.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Now, what plans have you in place for bid in the coming months? Then?
Well, in the next few weeks, we've got the new planters going into town. So there are 23 new planters going in. There's the 10 that are due in on the prom, which are to replace the old ones that used to be there from Penwith days, which unfortunately had just fallen apart due to age and use. I'm taking delivery of the 23 new planters later on today, which will be then planted up and put out. The ones on the prom will actually have 5 seats around them as well, so every other one will have a seat around it as well, which allows for greater seating area and more people to be able to dwell on the prom and enjoy the views. And then there are 8 new planters going up Causeway Head and some at the bottom of Market Dew Street as well. So across the town there will be a raft of new palms.
Very nice. Yeah, bring us into. I mean, just looking through the town recently, like I say, and we have noticed, say, with the plants and the flowers that's been put up recently, it just makes the town look a lot more inviting and a lot more pleasurable to walk through. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think recently as well, we've been supporting the Penzance Floral Group as they've been going through the town and doing some extra pieces as well. So they tidied up the bed by Alfred Smith the other week, which was beautiful, and the one outside St John's Hall. They've recently been working on Abbey Basin, the basins down at Abbey Basin, and painting the benches down there. And that again is a voluntary group, obviously, Penzance Floral Group, and they're looking beautiful. And I think it's just that being able to help facilitate and support some of the groups who are already doing loads of work and make sure that all these areas are done. I'm also obviously putting on a badgering head quite a lot and badgering Cornwall Council and Penzance Town Council to a certain degree to try and make sure that some of these areas, which have always traditionally been very beautiful, are maintained to the standard that everybody expects in the area, because as soon as that happens, I think people have a much greater pride in where they live.
They do, that's right. It does say,
because it's something to be proud of, isn't it? If you walk through your town and it looks beautiful, then you can say very proudly that you're from Penzance and that's your local town.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were out last week ourselves. Sorry, beg your pardon. It was a week before, and I was out with a couple of work experience students, and we actually started asking a couple of questions, and we bumped into a couple of visitors, and they were saying how well the town was looking on that side of things. So
that's great news.
Yeah, so it's good news from that point of view, and it's great to be able to bring more people into the town, because it's great for our businesses, to be honest.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, is if the town's a place which is pleasant to be, then more people will use it more regularly, which we need based from the retail and shops point of view, but also just as a wider thing, the people who live in town, you want it to be a nice place to wander around. You don't want to live somewhere where you're worried about being. And from that point of view, there's obviously a large meeting that happened in June. Penzance Town Council called an extraordinary general meeting to so that people could come forward about antisocial behaviour, because at the time it was there was a lot of very strong feelings on social media and also concern in the town. It was a brilliant meeting. It did last for about 4.5 hours, and a lot of people, I think over 80 people, were able to give their opinions in terms of what needed to be done in Penzance. One of the main drivers that came out of that for Penzance bid is we were already working with Penzance Town Council and the Cornwall Safer team on a number of initiatives to tackle some of the antisocial behaviour type crime, really, in the town and feeling. But one of the things that came out of that was to investigate the possibility of a community hub. We are progressing with that quite quickly at the moment, particularly from a kind of council point of view, because often that can be quite difficult for them to move very quickly, and are hoping to set up a combined office in Causeway Head this year, which will have myself, Penzance Bid, and the Cornwall Safer team and the antisocial behaviour team, because there is an antisocial behaviour officer, dedicated officer who does kind of walk the beat in Penzance and other towns. He covers St Ives as well in the West Cornwall towns. But I think what it will allow, it's actually a pilot scheme, and so Penzance will be first for this style of community hub, but it'll give you give members of the public an opportunity to have somewhere where they can go and report any crimes that they have or raise any concerns that they have, be that anything from kind of seeing needles or antisocial behaviour or even just raising concerns about things that they want to action themselves. Maybe they've got people within their family who are using drugs or alcoholism and want to find out some information from that point of view. I think it gives a really good focus to antisocial behaviour. It's a deterrent to anybody who wants to come to Penzance and be generally minky, but also it allows a much closer link between residents and the community. So hopefully we don't have to get to the point where we did with the extraordinary meeting where everybody has to stand up and vocalise it in a large public meeting. They're able to actually just speak directly and get something done there and then. And it also shows what feeling there was within the town anyway. I mean, from all of the agencies we were already working together, but this just gives it a much more visual front to what we were doing, so everybody can access what we're doing rather than it seeming like we're doing it behind closed doors, really. And I think if you walk around the town, there was never a massive amount of problems, but there were a few problems which were being recognised by everybody. But there has been a greater police presence since that meeting, and a greater focus also from members of the public. So we've had a lot more 101 reporting, which we need in order to get more police in the area, more resource in the area. So from that point of view, there's been a real mobilisation of everybody to antisocial behaviour. And if you've walked around Penzance in the last 6 months, then you will definitely notice a massive difference now compared to even 3 months ago. And you barely see anything, not that it was massive beforehand, and people seem very happy to be in the town again.
I mean, that sounds good, because as you said, sometimes people not always vocal in coming forward. They possibly might not be, they might be a little bit quiet and shy and don't want to make that move, but maybe the hub might give them that voice to come in on a face-to-face basis without sort of having to be vocal in front of a big crowd.
Absolutely, because there may be situations where you want more of a confidential conversation anyway, and for those people who want to have a more confidential or a quieter conversation, but their concerns are just as great as everybody else who's willing to stand up in a crowd and speak, then it gives that opportunity for people to come in and speak to someone there and then, rather than having to wait or anything. And I think it just shows the commitment that we have within Penzance to really drive forward the Penzance Safe campaign. I mean, even though we were working on it before, the fact that we're now having a combined community hub, that's going to be that's looking to be a pilot for the rest of the county. So if it works well in Penzance, then they may well roll it out across. But it means Penzance is first, and we're the first ones to be tackling it in this way. And I think that can only be positive for Penzance, and the fact that all of these agencies view Penzance as a place where they can pilot things, because all of the different agencies are working so closely together at one goal. That's not always the case in some of the other towns, which is why Penzance has been kind of pushed forward from that point of view.
Sounds good. Sounds really good, Jess. Jess, it's been great talking to you. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about this morning?
No, I think that's everything. I think I've overloaded everybody.
Great stuff. Well, what we'll do, we'll give you an open door that say we'll make some arrangements for future diary dates that you can come in and tell us a little bit about what's actually happening on bid here in Penzance.
Next time I'll be talking all about Christmas.
Great stuff. Oh, frightening. No, she's frightened. You've frightened every one of our listeners now, Jess. Thanks so much for coming in.
All right, lovely. Thank you for having me.
Bye.